I'd love to turn the question on its head then. And instead of asking what's the thing that we can do right to generate the next million users, to look at common pitfalls and where some of the people in this webinar think what are common traps that people come into about thinking how do I get my next million users abroad? What are common mistakes that businesses make? It'd be interesting to hear if some of you had one of those you wanted to volunteer.
I can start on that one.
I think on the translations, we talk for hours about translation fails.
Sorry, you both came in on there at there was a technology lag there, but David, if you want to answer first, then I'll come to Diego.
Apologize for that. Yeah, I'd say on the translation side, we can all talk for hours about translation fails. I think being presumptive about the portability of your own language is a huge pitfall. Being a company in a location that uses one of the major, we'll call them global languages, English, French, Spanish, it's very easy to assume that, yes, I will be understood. The things that we put into the market will be understood perfectly, and not really appreciating the cultural weight that language can bring and impact the experience. So that's always something that we talk about is you're using English. Which English? How many Englishes? You're using Spanish. Which Spanish? How many Spanishes? I live in Florida. I probably need 3 Spanishes, in the course of a week. So it's some of those kind of discussions that we want to have to make sure that the language is really correct.
Diego, what were you going to say there?
Yeah, no problem at all. I think fantastically is being really touched by our colleagues, right? If you're talking about in terms, for example, e-commerce, right, or in payment methods, is really understand, can I support this payment method? What is the local competitor I have now? And if you don't take that into account, right, you're probably going to miss something and you're going to regret it. The other thing as well is that investment, right? Due diligence, it's very important because it's going to require lots of investment, if you want to expand abroad, right? And you need to know exactly or good indication of how much you're going to need it for how long. So have a solid business case. It's very important as well, right? Taking that into account, which summarizes pretty much what you're trying to achieve. What is the landscape, right? What is happening that, right? Is it something that I really want to fund, and what are the scenarios in the best and worst case scenario, right? So then I need to know exactly when I need to pull the plug if I have to.
When you and this isn't just to you, but
yeah.
to everybody. So you plan good and worst case scenarios. You start investment. How do you identify what is a good case scenario? I mean, presumably you can't just expect people to adopt your product at the same rates that they would in your domestic market when you launch abroad, right? Yeah. So it's this great unknown. You've no idea how successful you're going to be. How do you think about those business targets in a way that they have any meaning?
Oh, it's a very good question. Depends of the business, depends of your margins and so on. Lots of factors, right? But primarily, what we normally do is think about a market test plan, right? So what are the key indicators? What are the key elements that I need to take into account, right, to help me to get into the overall discussion I had about the product market fit, right? Which is where I can get indications that I'm finding a way of growth that is sustainable. That is not something that I'm funding myself, right? That independently is going to work, and then of course lead to profitability. If I don't have any indication in terms of a user retention, for example, it's a good indicator as well. Probably I'm not in the right path, and I need to reconsider either pivoting or perhaps kill it, which is another important thing to do as a product person as well.